Now I've got this pretty insane interaction that I've had with someone that I've been following for quite some time. He's a director, right, of a movie, Corsica, which I wanted to actually go see. Now he is going freaking nuts on Twitter. I don't really understand what's happening, but all I know is it's a big yikes. And I'll show you because I don't even know how to even begin with this. So I guess I'll just start. So I'll just show you the tweet. I don't even know how to explain this. I don't understand how we got to where we're at. Um, I just I don't see color. I don't like making it about race, making anything about race, right? If you're cool to me, you're cool. Like if you're a good worker, you're a good worker. Like if you do something I don't respect or don't like, then like none of that has anything to do with skin color, right? And I feel like it's weird when people just make it 100% about skin color. And this guy, he tweeted today about reparations. I guess like demanding or like sign this petition to get reparations for slavery, like the ancestors of slaves. And I don't agree with reparations. It's like taxpayer dollar, like, where's the money coming from? And it's like, where is it coming from? The countries in Africa that sold slaves, or the slaves that came from Asia, or the slaves that came from Europe? Because, like, I mean, there's 50 million slaves today, by the way. Anyway, and I just wrote L because I thought it was an L take. I don't agree with that. Um, and I was like, whatever. I kept going throughout my day, and then I saw this post, and I'm like, geez, like he's really laying it in there thick. And he wrote, the Negro problem is not only about being victimized or considered a burden to white Americans in America. The Negro problem is also about Negroes not investing in Negroes. Now, I'm just reading this verbatim, right? Because I'm not gonna like not talk about it, right? And I just wrote color, 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 boring. And I unfollowed, dude, because I'm like, I'm not gonna like reparations and now this. Like, I guess I see what he's saying. Like, maybe the culture itself, investing in itself, like, okay, sure. But like, what burden on white America? It like, dude, what the fuck? What is still this shit? Like, I'm sorry. This is stupid. So I was just like, "This is boring. I'm not gonna like I don't want any of this." And he responds, "It wasn't the melanated man that created the racial construct based on color identity. The European psychopaths did that. Be mad at the so-called white man who needs to be so-called white and not a human being from a specific European ethnic group." And I'm like, "What?" Like I don't I'm not making it about race. You're making it about color and race. And I just wrote, "Well, I guess hold on to that. I wish you well." Cuz like I'll be honest. I didn't want to deal with this. I was just like, "You know what? I thought like him and I have had random engagements interactions on Twitter over the past year and a half or something that we've been mutuals. And it's always been like we agree with our similar takes. This just felt a little extreme. Like, oh wow, you think that about white people and black people, and like, and I don't like that. I think that's keeping us segregated, and I don't like it's weird. So he responds with, "I am not an emotional butler to less melanated people. I am a truth teller." And I didn't, so that confused me. I'm like, "What the hell does that mean? Can you guys help me out there? What does that mean to you?" He's not an emotional butler to less melanated people. Am I less than because he's more melanated? Like, it's skin color. What the fuck? It's not like it's a superpower. It's just how your skin takes the sun. What the fuck? What is this? Is he greater than, or am I like, is he, what the fuck does that mean? Seriously, help me out. Anyone? What is it? Does anyone know what that means? I don't understand. One second. Okay, so I just I quote tweet it, right? I quote tweet it. I said, "Weird energy, excuse me for being less melanated." Oh man, and it gets weird. It gets weird, guys. Okay. It gets weird. I don't understand it. So he responds. He says it's weird because you know what being white gets you in society. Oh, okay. Right. Just stop feeling guilty for being a white supremacist and condescending towards more melanated people like me. When was I condescending? When was I a white supremacist in any of that interaction? It, seriously, it's not a competition or a privilege or a threat, but it seems to be all of those things for so called white people because the science was never in your people's favor. What science? In my people's favor? So he's putting me in this white bracket. Like, I'm in the side of like, we're all human beings. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Trust the science and not your arrogance. When you know better, you do better. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? So I wrote, doubling down on that racism, eh? This isn't worth my time. You clearly have your mind made up on things, right? I mean, there was no talking to this person about whatever the fuck he's got his mind on. So he wrote some shit out and I wrote yikes. And I didn't know that he was gonna, I thought he was just gonna delete it and move on. So I saw I deleted it, but I had it up and I just took a screenshot and posted it. So this is what he wrote first. He said, "Oh, so the science is racism." Let's just go back real quick to like what he was talking about with the science. It's weird because you know what being white gets you in society. Is that science? Is that is that the science he's referring to? Or feeling guilty? Is that science? Um, I I'm not sure what science he's referring to here. So the science is he's just I don't know. I don't know what this means. And then he says, "Man, you really are the walking dead, aren't you? Are you mentally ill, feeling suspicious and suicidal?" Yep. Those recessive genes are the most challenging. Please seek professional help. You're white, so you should be fine. Like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Am I crazy here, guys? I just I'm so like I never saw any of this from this guy before, and I saw him, like, putting this movie out, it looked really good, it was based on, oh, what's that, it's, like, one of the first, like, well-known, a real story, by the way, of the as, like, a black cowboy that became a he escaped racism, something Briggs. No, fuck, it's a badass story, and there's actually a cool graphic novel based on it. But he did a movie about it, and I was like, "That's dope." That's how I found him. I was like, "Oh, he did this," and he's like, seemed like a pretty accurate guy. So I just I wrote "yikes" and took the picture, and then he goes, and then he posts this. Oh, so the science. Oh, I guess he rewrote it. All right, so he rewrote some of this stuff, and then says, "Oh, by the way, you suck at gaslighting." I'm gaslighting him. And then he posted, "Negrophobia, an irrational dislike or fear of black people. Also see racist, intolerant bigot." Where where did any of that where was any of that seen in any of these interactions that I just explained? Anything? Anyone? Oh man, I'll be honest. That's the saddest interaction I've ever had on Twitter. I went from being mutuals with this person to now him basically calling me a white supremacist and I'm condescending towards black people. Um, and I don't, I'm also, he's calling me suicidal. I'm mentally ill. I'm at a loss of words at how much was going on there. So, wow. Okay. Sad case. Yeah. So there was that. Andreas, hey, what's up, dude?
Oh my word. Are you telling me really like that you're like Isaiah Washington, the Spike Lee, perhaps NOI is like it's the NOI guy? Like, because there's the context right there, right? Like,
What? No, no. So you know who this is?
yeah, like haven't you ever watched every Spike Lee movie, including Bamboozled, and felt like the White Devil, LaQuincy Ocha? Like you've never done that? You're not like a Californian at all? So we spend a lot of time hating ourselves for being white, so we had to watch all of those
Never.
movies. Yeah. In
No.
fact,
I don't.
my film teacher, Marco Antonio Galars, who's from Ecuador,
Okay.
he studied under Spike Lee, and he knows, I think, Isaiah Washington. But the thing is, he's named after the honorable prophet Isaiah. And I think he's all but tied. I don't think he's like a direct member of NOI, but I think he's every direction. He's intimately tied with NOI. So, and NOI is the Nation of Islam, but it's better we call it NOI, because it's not really like, what the Nation of Islam is? Like Malcolm X, the boxer, and like basically Americans didn't really know anything about Islam. And then the
Okay.
honorable prophet Elijah Muhammad came to America, and that's just his name again. The honorable prophet Elijah Muhammad. It's this guy
Okay.
from Egypt, and he's like says that basically God came in it's like Scientology for black people. God came in a spaceship to the earth, and that Jacob invented white people over 600 years on some islands by like breeding down like the lesser and lesser melanated people until white devils were created. And this was taught to a lot of people to this day, and they use Dianetics. So they're not like they you got to see NOI. Like they wear army uniforms like Scientologists. They do like bandstand marches, and they use Dianetic auditing to try to elevate the black consciousness. And so maybe just the fact that he saw everyone posting their like 20-year-old pictures reminded him of himself, during like an NOI audit or something like that. But that wording, the kind of stuff he's saying, sounds a lot like the stuff that my NOI cousin, because I have a black cousin, they talk like that, and they say like
that
your
would
melanin
explain
deficiency, you've devolved, obviously you're from a devolution, and so there's nothing you can do about it. And it's an interesting kind of it is very racist, but they believe that they're like the original human from like Atlantis. That's the thing, Yeah, so I don't know. That's it's probably hard for him to ever accept you. However, I think if the fascists, let's say the other N words, the from Germany, won and took over and killed all the people that weren't white, eventually they'd come for you and me, wouldn't they? Because like they would be nitpicking eventually, right? Like once they got rid of all the really hardcore different people, then they'd go after the subtle differences. Like, well, you're not blonde enough, so I don't think we'd make it in the end anyway. So I don't know. It's like it's a moot point one way.
I think my hair's darker than yours,
dude.
So
I was born
but
blonde.
I've got really blue eyes though, so maybe.
Were you born blonde?
I don't think
See,
so.
because imagine we'd like by the time we were.
I don't think I was.
So you had blue eyes, so they'd like, let's see how it works. And I had blonde hair.
See how it works. Well, I could dye my hair because I got the blue eyes, so I'm good, right?
That's true. Yeah. No, eventually they would.
So that honestly, someone said it in chat. I don't know who said it. I just read it. It was just black supremacy. Oh, Metastep said it. Like
literally though, it is. It's melanin supremacy.
Louis Farrakhan. I mean, this is the same words. What's his name?
Louis Farrakhan's part of NOI.
Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon said some crazy shit about white people like 2 years ago or something, and he got a Fox show. Like he just said, "Oh, I'm sorry about that," and it's like, what? Like dude, you said some crazy shit. Like that's some race. That was
I
some
think
racist fucking shit, dude.
we've been really careful for a long time, but I think a lot of this stuff is about to like everybody, every direction, all the time, and someone's gonna have to do something to make sure it's about love, and that's like the thing. Like the way you came at
I
that, I
hope
just want to
so.
point. What you did was amazing. Everything you
What?
said in the messages
Yeah.
to Isaiah Washington, you're just like,
Yeah. I
love
mean,
you, bro. You're
yeah,
like,
man, I wasn't trying to attack him. I was just like, wow, I don't agree with what you're. This is not who I thought you were. Like, I'm gonna back out. But like,
yeah,
hey, man, wish you well, you know. And he was just like, "You're a white supremacist." I was like, "Holy shit!
my God.
Whoa! Oh, wow!"
Well, actually, I don't.
I was not expecting that, dude.
Maybe I missed it, but I didn't quite get the part where he called you white supremacist. I got maybe did he say that specifically, or did he just call you white devil, kind of essentially?
Oh no, he called me a white supremacist.
Huh. That's
He
interesting.
said, "Just stop feeling guilty for being a white supremacist and condescending toward more
Well,
melanated people like me." And was
just
like, "Wow,
honestly ask
where?
yourself though. Honestly ask
What?
yourself. Seriously, like let's do it
Go
for a second.
on." Sure.
Do you think there is any part of you that thinks like it's a whiteness thing that makes something better? Like, or is it always something else? I don't think it really
No,
is a skin color thing ever.
no,
Yeah.
not in the slightest.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
And like, are you
I think
stoked
it's
on
I
African
no, no,
culture?
no, let me
Yeah.
what do you no, I'm stoked on humanity, and I think meritocracy rules, and that's how it should be, like, the best person for the job, and, like, if you work hard to get where you're at, like, what the fuck does color have anything to do with it? Like,
Right.
I feel like anyone, if they work hard enough, could potentially reach the goals that they want. It's not a for sure thing because that's life. Things happen, like, it could you might never reach your goals, but I still think, like, regardless of your skin color, it's more about where you were born and, like, your upbringing and, like, the opportunities that are allotted to you, like and
The
that
choices you
also
make with that.
doesn't have anything to do with race, is skin color. Yeah, the choices you make are huge. Like,
Right.
he's you know who he is, he's like a relatively famous dude, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's a director, like, you are doing
An actor,
you
yeah.
it's like, "Bro, you're doing better than me, man." Like, "What the fuck?" Like, I don't feel like I have any, perks in life just
That's for
because
sure.
I'm white. Like, what the fuck? It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, so it's interesting because like the framing of it that it's like has anything to do with a white culture. Like I can go back, for instance, and take any example of things that we associate with Western civilization,
Mhm.
and like prove that they're not. Like so, for instance, bathing. Bathing comes from the Muslims, comes from Africa, comes from the bathhouses of the Moors, right?
Okay,
Like we
sure.
didn't have the Romans didn't have aqueducts before that, and European and the barbarians smashed them when they got them. So for the most part, Europeans relied a lot on Asians and Africans and Arabs, like all different India, to get a lot of the things that make our culture really interesting. We had
Okay.
Arab and Christian and trading. So I think fundamentally, then looking at like any culture that's a race-based culture, like look at Japan in the Edo period, they were like kind of interesting, but they're small and they lose out on by the 100 years later, everyone's got electricity and they're living in the dark ages. So looking at cultures that blend and take trade with each other, they
Yeah,
advance
like,
far
cultural
faster.
appreciation?
Cultural appreciation is far better than cultural appropriation as a term
What
because
is
you're
that?
not a cultural
What is that?
appropriation. I don't think is really the right word. I think the
It's
Romans,
not.
the
It's
only thing
not.
I can think of would be like
No,
the
no, that's like
Romans.
saying hate speech. It's
Yeah.
like, no, 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 no. That's just shit you don't like. It's still free. It's a speech. Like you just don't like it. Whatever.
I
It's
think
similar. It's not exactly the same
to
thing. But
appropriate something, like you'd have to like replace the original so it doesn't exist anymore. So like if the Romans made the pyramids, say they were made by the Romans, I think that could be considered appropriation. I think that's the
okay,
level it would take.
yeah, or like J.P. Morgan taking Tesla's research and turning it into something he can sell
Yeah,
instead.
and
Although
that
it's not cultural, but kind of like
well,
what appropriation
okay,
would
so
be.
like let's say like Bugs Bunny, right? Bugs Bunny
Hmm.
was Brer Rabbit, and it was a mythological character from Africa. So in African myths, they would tell you about the rabbit, and there's all kinds of characters like the spider that like laid the web that the earth came out. All these African myths that many different tribes knew in the west coast of Africa, and they came to Louisiana and they came to Carolinas, and those stories got into the heartland, and eventually we got a
Mm.
book about a white kid learning all of these amazing Black stories that come from Africa. And so it's twofold. One, it proves that there was culture, that there was civilization. It wasn't just not written down, or like it wasn't, or it at least was oral. And two, that we as an American society benefited from African civilization directly hundreds of years ago. It's ingrained. And Bugs Bunny 3 is like, it's the appropriation of that, and the it's because of the loss of the original, because we don't know that now. We've killed Song of the South.
Okay. How about this book that's now coming around? Stonehenge was built by Black Britons, as a children's history book claims. Yeah, that's.
I mean, I'd like to read it in an Oxford journal first. I don't know if it should be a kid's book until we know that's a fact. I don't know that's a fact. I don't think I know that's a fact.
That's not. I was so as someone. Hold on, sorry. As
I'm
someone
open-minded,
who was literally just there 2 weeks ago, standing in front of Stonehenge. I was standing in front of it. Well, I was a little further away, but I was there on the site, and that's not what they were saying. And there's this weird push to say that now England was just this like black country once, and I think they truly believe it though.
I just want to see, like, is there evidence? Because like I'm the Tartaria guy. Like I'll visit the Mormons. Like show me anything. Like if you're, because like I've seen evidence that Africans have traveled. I believe that they had boats. You can see that the Egyptians have the same boats as the Vikings. Something's going on. But like, can you show me evidence that there's a huge population of African Britons that were, you know, ethnocided or merged in the 12th century? Can you show? Because like I can't find that evidence.
I haven't seen it, but it says here. Let's read a little bit about this. The book published by Bloomsbury. It says here, Britain was a black country for more than 7,000 years before white people came.
Well, that's what? How far?
And during that time, the most famous British monument built was Stonehenge.
No,
so wait,
Stonehenge
7,000 years.
Stonehenge is much more recent than 7,000 years ago. That's not a 7,000-year-old.
Well,
structure.
no. They said that the country was black for more than 7,000 years before white people came.
Yeah, but white people came here a long time ago. Like
they claim. Well, and then Stonehenge was supposedly built about 4,000 years ago.
But white people came in the white people have lived in Britain since the Catalytic period. You have the Picts, the Celts, the Gaels, the Saxons, the Frisians. There's thousands of years of it. Like it doesn't matter that there were 7,000 years before that.
This is what history says now. Okay.
Oh my word.
So whatever you think, you're wrong, and you're obviously a white supremacist.
I'm octamaroon, but okay.
Go. What's the whip that people whip themselves?
Cat of nine tails. I don't know, just like a nice back massager would be cool.
Nine tails. Yeah, how dare you? Shame on you for not accepting this new.
This is interesting to me for a couple reasons though, because I'm like the most open-minded. Come on, like
I know you. I know you are.
Like I'm like, there could be black people in England, and in fact, there's evidence that there
very much is black people in England. I was just there. There's a lot of them.
Touche. But like thousands of years ago, like because there's evidence that they were interacting and exchanging. So it could have been that if so, it seems that the people that were most likely to do this were mercenary traders and of course the royals. The royals would trade children from across.
Yeah, we were talking about this. What was it yesterday? You know, about the Vikings and stuff. And it's like, all right, well, still, you look at like who lives around here. I mean.
Well, it would explain
Sweden. There's a lot of blue-eyed, blonde-haired,
but royals,
white people here.
Royals have to keep it in their bloodline, so it would be rather uniquely in the bloodlines of a specific group of people that did not exchange their bloodline with the rest of the civilization society. It's plausible that it was only in the royal line. That's totally fine.
Part of me wants to go to this guy and be like, doesn't matter. I live in Sweden now, the land of the land of the white Vikings. I'm home.
Just post a picture of the white Power Ranger.
You think you'd get mad?
I would watch Bamboozled just to get context, like just to see like what happened to a lot of black actors in Hollywood and in New York, particularly in like the 90s, because they went through something. I think is the thing. And that the thing is also, it's like, there is a point that you have to figure, what is it that they're really talking about? I think it is the idea of loss of culture. And we have the same message. You are an and
I'm not allowed to have culture, Andreas. What the fuck are you talking about?
but theoretically
Loss of
neither,
culture.
but theoretically
What?
neither is his.
Fuck
That's
you.
They're taking his culture
Bullshit.
next. Oh, they're gonna mix his.
Bullshit,
They're
dude.
gonna
White
mix it
people
up.
are not allowed to have culture. You mentioned white
Yeah.
people have culture, and everyone. You even have just told me that everything that we have came from Africa. I mean, you just said that like 5 minutes ago. So,
Well,
like,
and
what culture would I
India.
have then?
And
Cultural
India.
appropriation. All right. Well, what have I? What if has my skin color? Like, I don't fucking care. I don't even want to know the answer to that. Like, it doesn't matter. That's so stupid. Like, they're
Well,
dwelling on it, like, what my history, my skin colored ancestors created this, and I can be proud of that. Like, I don't fucking give a shit.
right.
Why
Yeah.
do people care about that? It's so stupid. You know, it's like they're trying to change history. Like Cleopatra, she was Greek, right? But like, even Egyptians, they were fucking suing Netflix because they were pissed off about it. They're like, that's not our history. You're changing it. So they're changing history as much as possible of whatever they want. It sounds like that's what they're trying to do, to get rid of, or not get rid of, but like put the less melanated people in their place. I've never heard that phrase before. Some that he's not
Nation of
a
Islam.
emotional butler. Like, bro,
Yeah.
I wasn't
There's that.
seeking for you to be an emotional butler for
They call
me.
it they call it
My
melanin deficiency, because
well,
the belief is that melanin makes you more psychic, because it makes it possible for the thetans, or whatever they believe it's called,
wow.
to yeah, and it's protective and magic and all this other stuff. And otherwise, you have all kind. That's their thought.
That's it just seems pretty racist to me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, it is.
that's
It really is.
yeah, it's just like, okay, so so what I'm hearing is you think because you have more melanin, you're better. That's black supremacy. Like, how is that not? Like,
It literally is. But the thing
it's
is, it
like the
was,
opposite of the coin. Is like people who
but
think
it
their
was okay. No one
white
ever
skin
was
is
upset about
better,
it.
the Aryan race, or like Hitler or whatever the fuck they believed. It's like the same exact thing. It's the other side of the coin, the same coin.
Yeah.
The fuck?
I don't think
It's
anyone's
fucking
gonna,
racist.
because they're so hardcore looking. Like they're equivalent to the Proud Boy. Like no one wants to go target the Nation of
The Proud
Islam.
Boys. The
Yeah.
Proud Boys is run by a fucking like
No, I just meant
Latino guy.
the look
What the
though.
fuck?
The
The
look
look of
though.
what?
Just like
There's all
wearing
sorts
outfits.
of races in the freaking Proud Boys.
I just meant
Are you talking
they
like
look aggressive.
their
They
clothing?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, who fucking gives a shit? A
Maybe
well-regulated
Scientology.
militia.
Yeah, a well-regulated militia, which is a Malcolm X kind of, made sure that they were orderly, and in a lot of ways, you got to respect them, except for the racism. Like the fact that they cleaned up the group,
You gotta respect him. Maybe not the racism,
I
but
don't
you
know.
gotta respect.
This is you know what?
I'm sorry. That was just that's a
these
crazy statement.
You know what it is, and thank you for making me think of that way, because these are things that we were taught to just accept. We being the schizophrenic voice in my head in school, like decades before anyone readdressed them. So they're a long time, like you just tolerate and accept this, and I think pretty soon they won't. And the
You're
same
not.
way,
You don't feel guilty for being who you are, though, right? I mean, do you?
guilty for
Are you? Do
being
you
who
feel
I
guilty
am.
for being white? Because you are white.
No, not for being white, but
Okay, that's good.
I do feel guilty for my sins. How about that? For my own,
But that's different, though.
Yeah,
So
you have to
like
carry your
you're.
own weight, not others.
But that's so do I. Like
Yeah.
I will always carry
Sometimes God
the
will
weight
curse.
of my sins, like
Sometimes
my
God will
abortion.
curse
Like
for generation.
never
to
gonna
generation.
remember or forget that, you know.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
okay, but that's not that has nothing to do with that. Those are actions that you've done, choices you made.
But
That has nothing to do with your skin color. Well, like they make it
Yeah.
about skin color.
Yeah, I don't know if about skin color, but sometimes, like in the Bible, it talks about you can be cursed for your children's generation, like for 4 generations, 7 generations. They have these curses that last for generations. So I imagine even if there was something that was generational, it's only for 4 or 5 generations, and still has nothing to do with color, but only has to do with patriarchy. It has to do with your father's line. So I think everything we look at is at like a microcosm, but they assimilated. Can we say they destroyed Caucasian Europeans, cultures, whatever you call it, they assimilated them first into secular culture, and then they destroyed them. And so I think that's what he sees happening here, is that they're also now starting to assimilate his culture, whatever that is, and destroy it, because they're building up the fully homogenized Babylonian culture. So he's now starting to feel the same way a lot of like 60-year-old white guys felt
I
before.
mean, he's not done. He just posted this. So you're mentally unstable and now you're mad. What a psychopath. Don't plan any mass shootings out there, okay? And then he tagged the Anti-Negro Defamation League. Like, what the fuck is this guy
Interesting.
on, dude?
I mean,
Like,
just
don't
so
wait, where is he saying where is he seeing that I'm mentally unstable or or even mad? Like, not once had I shown anger at all throughout this whole thread, right? It's insane. It that feels like the programming is coming through. Like like you said, like, oh, maybe that 20 years ago something was triggered, rustled up something. So like, and then like I triggered it more, and now all of it's being like, oh, it's a white guy. Focus, fire all cannons. You know, like,
yeah,
whoa, dude.
you might have triggered a memory. You know, that happens more. That's I think 90% of when people have like an emotionally unstable choice, it comes from
Yeah,
something like a rat like that.
clearly,
But the guy,
clearly.
at the same time, he's talking about like phobia, fear, anger, and all these.
Yeah, it's
It's
like, that's so
really.
sad, like, that not once did I feel any fear
Do you remember
or
when?
anger at all. Like, honestly, it was just sad. I was like, I actually respected you, but now I didn't follow you because you were black. I followed you because you made a cool movie I wanted to
Yeah, I can't
see.
even see
Eh
people's faces on Insta. You know what I mean? The little tiny bubbles, so I don't even
yeah.
know what they look
It's
like.
like, what the fuck? It's so weird. Like, now you're just, like, throwing all this race shit out, and I'm like, I don't like race shit. Like, you're race baiting. Now you're, like, trying to get people to get reparations, and I'm like,
See,
"The fuck? No."
I've
Like,
I've
the
come to
fuck?
like race slightly more than I used to, and here's let me explain why. Like, so I used to be
By
taught to
all
be
means.
colorblind and all that other things, but as I've gotten older, I realized like the process of erasing culture is to the benefit of the state. And so, for the most part, even though it's not really about race, it's more about cultures. I try my best to, if like for instance, if someone says to me like, "Do you accept that I'm a black man?" I'll be like, I don't really understand what that means to you, but I accept that that means something to you. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
won't just
okay.
disregard it. Like
Like, do I
that's
accept it? Like,
well, because a lot
why
of
do you
people won't. A lot of people will say like, I just believe we're all humans and there's no difference. Like, well, that probably is like if you believe there is, your belief alone makes there until the plasticity of culture is gone, you're gonna believe that you're this thing.
Hmm,
So I'm going to accept that there is something, whatever there is in that, and that alone, because I don't really know beyond that if you could ever, like, you can't just go into an experience expecting like
yeah.
ever, and like so. I don't know. It's also though reminded me of when Will Smith became when he started making that movie, Muhammad the Ali movie, right? Because he did like Stanislavski method, where he like acted like he was Cassius Clay becoming Muhammad Ali, and it was brutal. Because afterwards, he talked about it, like for years, it was like the Andy Kaufman thing with Jim Carrey. Like he would
Mm,
just break into being Muhammad Ali. Like he'd be in a plane and be like, see like the pilots, and there's like a white pilot, and the backup pilot's the black pilot. And he'd be like, "What? They make a white pilot drive the black pilot?" And he realized like, why am I saying this? And he had that happen to him a number of times because of just
mm,
being this character that was this way. So I don't know. Also, I'm not saying this is the circumstance, but I've seen character actors become a bit emotionally unstable and swayed by characters that they've played, and he has played characters that believe this stuff.
hmm. Oh, what do you guys think? Tell me what you think in the comments, and let me know if am I crazy? Or is he just being racist? Is he right? I don't. I just I need some help here, guys. Remember to subscribe, share this video to get more people because I don't know what the hell I just witnessed. So, but I appreciate it. Check out Andreas's stuff. He's fantastic.
Send
It's
us some
right. Just
reparations.
just type in some Andreas Exertus right there and go give him a follow.